Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Friday, September 6th, 2024. It's pretty late on Friday, so you probably won't see this until September 7th. Not gonna lie. Before I get started, I just wanted to, it's laid on my heart. Ooh, left hand itching, is that a good sign? Left palm? I don't think you're supposed to scratch it, but I guess it's too late. But yesterday I wanted to add, today I wanted to add a minor yet major addition to something I said in my message yesterday at the very end. I made a comment that fear has no resonance in my reality, and I said that love is paramount. And later on, a better word came to me, that's even more, I think, profound than paramount. And that is presides. Love presides. Love resides and presides in my life and over my life. And paramount is cool, but it almost seems a bit detached in a sense where I feel like the ideal that love takes precedence over everything is a bit more clear, a bit more pronounced. So I felt like, that word came up and I was like, I should have said love presides, because it was mostly about this resistance between love and fear throughout the message, or contention, I should say, between love and fear. And presides just felt like a stronger word. And every now and again, I feel like, dang, I should have used such and such word, or a word that I'm searching for often in the message. I usually find it later, but I usually don't go through the trouble of retracting or adding anything in particular or editing. But I just felt like it was important to make that profession and to pronounce that addition. And so there it is. That's my personal proclamation. But of course, take it however it resonates for you. All right, so thank you for listening and watching. Thank you for humoring me. I appreciate your presence. I hope that you're doing amazing. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you had a powerful week. We are in the home stretch of the post shadow of Mercury retrograde, and it is what it is, because I'm not so sure that we'll be completely out of the woods even after the post shadow. I've kind of heard it said by others that it may be a lingering effect throughout the rest of the year. Take that with a grain of salt. But cosmically and officially, the pre-shadow will be over by September 11th. Go figure on that date, right? So we'll see what happens, of what we can sense as a turnaround or a shift, if any, at that point. There's so many planets in retro or going retro throughout the ending out and rounding out the last half of this year, the last quarter of this year, that hell, it may not make a difference. It's like hella introspection, which is what retrogrades really do compel, is introspection, reflection, inventory, reconsideration, so on and so forth, but more from an inner perspective. So there's more to come, so just enjoy the ride, I suppose. Queen of Wands, love it. Yeah, that's somebody that's going to ride the wave, take every experience as an adventure, or make it an adventure, like create something fun and exciting out of it, if at all possible. The Queen of Wands is going to do it for sure. Take a ho-hum journey and make it a freaking, I don't know, like extravaganza. Oh, wow. Like an explorative experience, something along those lines. But anyway, Queen of Wands, extremely confident, transmutative, I don't know what word that would be. Definitely heavy on the the ability to transmute energy, let's put it that way. So even still could take a heartbreak and repurpose that energy for, I don't know, like some type of life lesson, or this is the energy, because I can obviously I can speak to this very personally. This is the energy of someone that more or less with time, but certainly in a great deal of ways, accelerated and it's not just about the timing though, it's just something about the transmutation of unfavorable circumstances. So whether this is a heartbreak, a breakup, some traumatic experience or another, or even a fear, because the Three of Swords could even represent some type of fear, especially on account of a trauma. It's something about fire energy that can repurpose that energy into something that works for them. So this is someone that could have a breakup in one moment, and you expect, for them to turn out looking beat down and busted and disgusted and, in hermit mode. They don't want to come out. They don't want to do anything. Just want to, depressed and all. And it's like somebody will pop out in a week's time or two, you know what I mean? And look better than ever. That's the energy here with the Queen of Wands. And it looks quite mystical from the outside looking in, even a little bit magical, as the Queen of Wands definitely inflects. But it's just that fire energy that's, it's ever burning, it's ever brilliant, and it doesn't allow too much to linger too long. Like you gotta be quite interesting to captivate the Queen of Wands and capture their attention, especially for an extended period of time, which is that's the benefit of it, well, depending on how you see it and how you fare to answer to that challenge. But for the Queen of Wands herself, or anybody that embodies this energy of just high activity or proactivity, but still in a very sensual and feminine sense, extremely confident, adventurous, charming, what's another word? Bold. Did I say confident? I think I did. Resilient, for sure. The upside is, as I've said, you can burn off unfavorable experiences quite quickly, or again, transmute the energy into something that, you know, actually works in your favor or adds value to your life. A lot of times, being a fire sign, particularly a feminine fire sign energy, you don't really have a lot of bad experiences. It's like you look back on a thing as a learning experience, or like just another adventure, you know, or something that was necessary to, well, sometimes it's not necessarily necessary, but once it's done, it's done, you know, and you revere it as something that was meant to be in some regard, even if it was just by your own admission or by way of your own cognition, or however it's best to say this, you by your own choice, you know, that it got to be. There's still very little room for regrets usually, and you know, that comes with its own magneticism of judgments and criticisms, particularly from the outside in, because again, sometimes it just kind of looks like, you know, like you're detached, or you're not so so engaged in that you're not really too rooted or grounded in anything that would inspire commitment or devotion, which is not true. It's not true. But as I said, it's like there's a great deal of selectivity with the Queen of Wands and what she engages with, and certainly in what can hold her attention. So it's not so much that nothing can and nothing does. It's just that her standards are pretty high in regards to her engagement for excitement or the captivation of her personal enthusiasm. So like I said, it's an upside and a downside depending on how you look at it and who you are. If you're outside looking in, or if this is you, you can totally relate. If you have a lot of like intense fire energy in your chart, then you know that it definitely is an advantage to kind of like allow things to kind of melt off of your back to some degree, like butter sometimes when you can. And you know, sometimes there is an invitation, even a necessity to be a bit more stabilized and grounded, and to, you know, root yourself, plant yourself in a way that can be a challenge when it's not necessarily something that is that feels like a privilege, you know, or even a passion or a pleasure, for sure. Highly pleasure-driven energy here. So I guess like all things, it just has its, you know, its ups and its downs, but in a life, and for me, like I wouldn't have it any other way to possess a high frequency of that type of energy, because otherwise you can really be weighed down by the ups and downs of life, sometimes longer than you really want to be energetically, you know. But having the frequency of like, you know, I don't even know what to call it. It's just something about, I guess it's resilience, more or less. It's just something about that resilient energy that if you embody it naturally, you know, it's not a bad thing to embody. It's not a bad thing to embody. And if you don't necessarily, then find you a good friend that's a one in particular where you from the outside looking in are like, how is she okay? Why is she doing all right now? She should be balled up in the corner, or why she just broke up with her boyfriend. She's already out on the scene, and not in a, toxic way where somebody's just trying to bury their emotions deep and, you know, not wanting to really confront or accept them. That's a different type of vibe that anybody can force upon themselves. I'm talking about somebody that really does bounce back rather quickly. Find you a good friend like that and ask them for their secrets. Now, caution, because what works for her or him may not necessarily work for you. So you take it all, you know, you apply at your own risk. But it never hurts to at least source the tools, you know, or resource the tools from the source themselves. It's nice to have it in your arsenal in case you ever need to whip it out in an emotional emergency. But, you know, here's the Nine of Cups, which is quite watery, quite, yeah, look at this, like quite absorbed in their emotional frequency, but really in more of a good way, usually with the Nine of Cups, unless it's like an overindulgence that we're talking about here. But yeah, see, I don't know though. Hold on. Oh wow, look at this, the total opposite of what everything that I'm saying is just coming out. So funny, these cards, man, they never cease to amaze me. But all right, so let's see what we got here. So I just did this whole soliloquy about resilience for a reason. What is that? What is the reason? The Nine of Cups is definitely it alludes to a spiritual satisfaction, but with Three of Wands here, it's given. I gotta go with how I feel. It's given someone that wants to appear to be someone would like to emulate. I never say nothing for nothing, okay? Somebody would like to be able to emulate, imitate, duplicate something, you know, something ate this energy here. Because this is the opposite. This is the very opposite suit of Wands. This is someone that would have a much harder time just kind of getting over things. Like, this is the most delicate and vulnerable energy of them all, I would say, especially in terms of emotional essence, for sure. So this could be somebody that's like, I'm getting like way over their head and like in deep in their emotions. And what they desire to be is at least a master of it, you know. But what they would like to emulate is the resilience of the Queen of Wands, where someone's in so deep that they really would like to snap their fingers and get over it, but they're finding a hard time realizing that experience for themselves. Why? I have my speculations based on the cards. But yes, it's like an unrequited love. That's what I'm feeling. Certainly with the Three of Swords. I haven't said that term in a very long time. But that's coming up, especially with somebody looking ahead to, you know, in some expectation or eagerness for, I'm really getting for some escape, you know, more than it is even a return. It's like somebody is wanting to escape the depths of their emotional stresses or emotional maybe turmoil, maybe, because what I'm getting straight up and down is like what someone anticipated to be the fate here of the Queen of Wands: disempowered, heartbroken, downtrodden, helpless, hopeless, completely captivated by pain or captive of pain or something like that. Like, certainly not in this empowered state whatsoever. There was an expectation for this to be someone's fate. This was what was what's the right word? Somebody was almost left to this condition here, and being left in that condition was expected to be held captive by it. And that would have been satisfying for this energy here at the Nine of Cups. But it's like somebody looked up, maybe even looked back, and realized, like I said, like I was going through the motions earlier about like either that you're still thriving, or that somebody's still thriving, still confident, still attractive, still maintaining some type of like positive outlook in life, still having great expectations, feeling secure in their own skin, stable, excited for life, you know what I mean? Looking forward to the next adventure. Is like what was supposed to keep somebody down is already literally a thing of the past. Like, what, that? Oh, I'm Gucci, like, oh, I'm good. Like, it's already been transmuted as some productive life force at this point. And not only has it been transmuted from being a poison to some degree, or some infraction of impotence against the Queen of Wands, is actually like empowered somebody that much more. Literally going from the Eight of Swords to sitting in the most supreme seat of power of all of the queens, by suit anyway, as the Queen of Wands. Like somebody completely reclaiming their power, their independence, their confidence, their creativity, and it being better off now than it was before. And what's missing is, which is why I said, find you a friend if you aren't that friend, even unto yourself. If you're not that friend, then find you one. Because what's missing is the methods of mentality that a Queen of Wands possesses. It's not so, like I was saying before, it's not so much that everything is just not so serious, or not that serious, that none of it is serious, or nothing, impacts or makes an impression upon this energy, but it's just that the perspective is intentional to not allow anything to extinguish your fire, but for so long before you have, there's just a stronger mentality to take charge of your creativity and decide what an experience gets to be transformed as, or transmuted as, before it completely transforms you. More so for the lesser man or woman than the intention alone to have it be meaningful, or in some cases to be meaningless where it applies is what is transformative for the better, because you don't defer your power to anyone or anything outside of yourself, even in the things that you may submit to as a lesson or as like a teachable moment for yourself. It's still within your own right to make that determination, because you assume that right and you assume that authority and power. I don't know if I'm making that make sense, so maybe I'm not the friend. But the point is and sometimes, you know, when a thing comes kind of naturally to you, it's hard to explain. It's one of those things that is more exemplified than it is, you know, it's more to be experienced and exemplified than it is to be explained. But certainly for, you know, for the purposes of evolving and growing and getting better, you know, the ideal is to take total responsibility and accountability and even authority over every experience in your life as a personal choice, with your own signature of creativity branded all over it. Because that way nothing can really take your power from you. Because anything that you would have experienced, even the most unfavorable of circumstances, there's always something that you can dissect at its least common denominator that was of your choice to submit to, subscribe to, engage with, allow, you know, surrender to, submit, however it goes down. There's always a point where you, and instead of it being disempowering, it's quite the opposite, because if you can take on that accountability as, you know, and assert it, then there's nothing that you could ever be victimized by, really and truly. Now, there are some, you know, there's some deep circumstances, of course, where you actually have been victimized, or someone could actually be victimized, but then it still works the same on the back end, that just because there may have been a circumstance or situation that was out of your control or out of your or something that you just weren't knowledgeable to permit or prohibit in the moment, where you get to reclaim your power is in what you say about that in the present, and what it says, what you allow it to say about you, and how you take that energy, that experience, and command that it would turn over value for you in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just as primitively as knowing what not to ever do again, you know, or who not to connect with, or who not to trust, or what decisions to make, or how to choose better next time. You know, either way, it's still a recap, you know, what's the right word? A reclamation of your power at the moment you decide that it gets to be, you know, and that ultimately helps to save you from victimhood, save you from feeling disadvantaged or disempowered for too long, you know, being drowned in that density, where ultimately here it is someone that there's someone that wishes they could call in that that quality for themselves. They feel like if they could have that quality to turn over this emotional energy, to transmute it, or to take control of it, to be empowered in some way, then they'd be better off. Would they? Who knows? But I'm getting a sense that that's what someone idealizes for themselves. And it's interesting that I don't know why I'm seeing it that way, because by the cards, like the upside could just be someone that is looking forward to love, but it's just not what I'm sensing though. And maybe the two could exist, you know, in a mutually exclusive way. But that would be the only upside, that somebody that pretty much is fulfilled where they are with themselves, very secure in their emotional frequency, satisfied with who they are from day to day, who they see in the mirror, is looking forward to now expelling this overflow of love outside of himself. But I still, with this Three of Wands, the Three of Wands is what throws it off, because what it was giving me is that if you're at the Nine of Cups and you're really so pleased with yourself, what are you, it's like there's still something left to be desired for someone. Like they're still looking for something out in the, you know, in the distant horizon, but everything that you should have should already be here at this point, which tells me that there's a void that someone's experiencing. And the Nine of Cups is really just the appearance of having it all together and being secure and satisfied, and everything is perfect, everything is wonderful. Maybe even presenting themselves to be someone that's open and available for love. But when you look at the Nine of Cups, his arms are crossed. That's not an open posture. Queen of Wands, wide open, legs and everything. So yeah, it's like, it's something about it looking a certain way, because like at face value, the cards should be saying something different to me, but they're not. There's something behind this curtain here. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Yeah, look at this. Exactly. Look at that stark difference there from the Eight of Swords to the Nine of Pentacles. Wow. Yeah. And look at it. It's the feminine counterpart to the Nine of Cups. Both should be in a very self-sufficient, pleased, satisfied, open and ready for anything posture, right? But the Nine of Pentacles, to me, with all that I just said, really is. And I feel like that's the smacking, that's the punch in the gut for someone, is that what they would have expected. Maybe, of course, with the Ten of, here it could be, and this could be pretty specific, but with the King of Cups, it could be about a breakup, or about how someone perceived a breakup to be taken. Like, say, this guy, you know, here it is, wasn't satisfied with this energy and therefore wanted to be open to other options, exploring other territories, and, you know, sowing their wild oats in some way, shape, or form, and finding satisfaction in that adventure, which is fine. But for whatever reason, they expected for that decision to leave someone else devastated and brokenhearted. Like, whatever shall I do without the love of my life type of energy, because they revere themselves to be the King of Cups, the catch of, the love all catch type of energy. So here's the rude awakening when, like I said, there's a look back, and in fact, somebody is really not sitting somewhere crying and moping about nothing, and they're actually single, ready to mingle, and looking damn good at it while they're at it type of energy. And that has somebody maybe perhaps in their feelings, but more in a prideful sense, on account that what they thought their absence would make a deep impact, but realizing that not only did it not, but maybe that somebody's actually doing better on account of their absence, better on the other end of a breakup, or better in this disconnection, whatever it may be, than what they anticipated. Somebody just think that they're a little bit too arrogant, it seems, but to their own detriment in this case. But their metrics is so tainted and distorted, because why would that, you should, anybody that truly is in a real King of Cups vibration wouldn't want to inflict that level of pain and hurt onto anyone, and you would actually be happy, even if you had your choice is your choice, but you would actually be happy that somebody has moved on, even if it's a bit of a little ego bruise, you know what I mean? Like, damn, she didn't care that much, huh? But it's like, you would at least feel like, well, at least she's happy, at least she's doing all right, at least she's not sitting home crying about me. A true compassionate person would want that for someone else, not to be feeling some type of way because, like, you're not crying, you're not upset, you're not hurt, you're not depressed, you're not feeling ugly and undesirable. Like, no, you're the Queen of Wands. Like, thank you next type of energy. Fuck. Like, that's all I got to say about it. Like, exactly. Fuck boy energy. Thank you, Spirit. Now wanting to kind of like spin the block to see what the hell is the problem, what's going on. And with no good intention in this case. That's why I know what I be knowing, man. What I feel more than what I know, to be honest, because I could never really know. But it's something about the sensation of these cards sometimes that they could look one way, but they speak to me a whole different way, And this is the energy right here. Somebody that's immature, arrogant, feeling some type of way because their ego is bruised, especially if they see you doing better. They want to either come in and capitalize off of that, monopolize off of it, manipulate it, abuse it, maybe even just really cause a disturbance and a disruption. Literally like F-boy energy to the 10th power in this case, to just want to come back and mess some shit up and then be on their way again, to kind of like put that extra sword in your back, like, oh, that wasn't enough, well, here's another, shiv you in the exactly, to shiv you in the damn recreation yard, like the jail yard, because this is like spiritual. This could even be real prison, but this could be spiritual imprisonment if nothing else. Like somebody thought that they had you like locked up in pain, or thought they had somebody locked up in pain and anguish, and had thrown away the key. That's until they decided that they would want to let you out, if ever. that's where you would spend your days, in solitary confinement. God damn, ain't that some shit? That might be the title, solitary confinement. That's what somebody's wish was for someone. Do you know how psychologically damaging solitary confinement is? That's some real sinister shit for somebody to wish that on you in spirit or in truth. And it could be either one in some way, shape, or form, because like I said, the Eight of Swords is either one. But that's what it all comes down to. That's wild. And then to see you break out, you know, because you know how people be looking when they get out of jail. A lot of times, if you are at least remotely intentional about rehabilitating yourself on your own accord, because you know the system ain't really built for that, but you usually come out more lean or more buff or more something a lot of times. Not to glorify it at all, but the way somebody broke out of their confinement, out of their incarceration of sorts, it's like looking better than ever. And here come this guy wanting to put somebody back, you know, lock somebody away again, emotionally more than anything, is what I'm sensing. Or to mind fuck somebody, yeah, with the sword energy, yeah, to create a whole mind fuck for somebody again that would ultimately put them in their, you know, put them in a detrimental emotional state with the Three of Swords. Just wanted to match their energy, but even less than, because this is really just silliness. Like, it's just ego what somebody is bothered by. It's not like they didn't break their own heart, you know, like they made their choice and they should be okay with living it. This is literally that somebody is so sinister that they just can't stand the thought of somebody moving on. And then, you know, it's funny, I'm gonna take another, let me keep going, but should I even talk about that? Because I don't want to bring that energy into this message. The Empress is getting better and better and worse worse. For like in the beginning I said, it just depends on what side of the game you on. But somebody's just getting like better with time, like fine wine at this point. Now the Empress, completely empowered and fertile and prime, in a prime position for partnership as the Empress. This is somebody that's not just evolved, but now we got the implication of having gathered your whole and complete self into one embodiment now. So you ain't just healed, you ain't just overcome a great deal of you know, a trying time, but now it's like you have almost like evolved into a completely different specimen of a woman at this point with the Empress. This is a fast jump, because we got the Nine of Pentacles, which is could undoubtedly be someone that's single, self-sufficient, and secure, like okay being a single lady, to the Empress, which is somebody that is like truly the object of affection. This is like high value woman here, you know, the object of many propositions, and that of premium essence, you know, not just any old body is approaching the Empress. And that's probably the other thing that bothers this person, is not so much that they have missed an opportunity or released an opportunity that they never really wanted, let's be honest, but just in case they would have wanted it, you know, but their egos really bruised on account of the potential options that someone now has access to that reflects to them and their insecure selves that they're not good enough. Never mind the fact that clearly this energy wasn't good enough for what they were still seeking and searching for. It doesn't sit well for them to actually feel like they wouldn't measure up as a prime candidate for partnership at this point, because the Empress now in this frequency is not entertaining any old proposal. You're gonna have to come correct. So it's really more of a jab to somebody's ego, an injury to somebody's ego. I heard somebody say that in a video, and I was like, that's interesting. An ego injury for someone. Pardon me. Yeah, it's so boring. Like it's just, how over it are we really? Exactly. I'm not even. You got to be kidding me. Are you for real? But this is the energy that it's just lust. It's just obsession with possession. It don't have nothing to do with love, admiration, respect, even regret, like affinity for anything but their own pride at this point. And really the obsession is, look at how this is lining up to cause someone heartbreak beyond repair. Like to really like break somebody down to size. Like, how dare you ascend? How dare you evolve? How dare you grow and mature into a position where I can no longer possess you or influence you or hurt you, is what really somebody is mad about, that they don't have the access that they once did and the influence that they once did to cause pain to someone. It's like, it's one thing if I can't cause you pain, but it's another thing if you break out of the cell that I handcrafted for you of insecurity and disempowerment to the point where I ain't gotta be there to break you down. Just the residue and the memory of being left behind or disregarded or discarded or rejected would be enough to keep somebody captivated and at such a low vibration that they could never ever attract anything better than what they pine over, right? Do you hear this? This is somebody's mind. That would at least be the baseline of their satisfaction. But, sans all that, and somebody is in a position to attract better for themselves, better than what was taken away, or what, was, I don't even know, because it was never in possession at this point. Whatever it was that was lost, let's say, is actually a great gain for someone, and they can't stand it. I suppose this is a lot of people's story at this point, especially these masculines that thought they was doing better out here with doing other things, or they had all the time in the world to play the field, and that there were so many fish in the sea that they just couldn't be bothered swimming around with one. Like, there gotta be better than you out here, and I gotta go see. And then they went and went to sea and found out with the Three of Wands that, yeah, it's a big old sea, but it ain't a lot of, fresh fish, as I've said before. It's a lot of creatures, as a matter of fact, out in those waters. And this came up in reverse because somebody just is obsessed with someone being disempowered. But get into it though. It's like, this is so funny to me because I forgot to see what was on the bottom. Did I see? I can't remember. But look at the mirror effect. Like even with somebody's most sinister intentions to turn somebody's security upside down, their confidence upside down, it's like still someone in there and at their worst in the reverse. These are complementary energies, both Leo. Somebody even in there, say their lower nature, you know, perhaps even at the point when they seem to be at their lowest in an inverted state, was still giving strength for days. It's still giving resilience. I love how this is lining up. That even somebody at their worst was still better than most. This ain't no weak bitch right here. It turned upside down and I picked it up that way, but this is really speaking to somebody's hopes and desires for someone, you know, to ultimately to have their world be turned upside down and them to just completely lose confidence and lose sight of themselves, lose even their own sense of sensuality, to not even have an appetite for connection anymore, or, you know, to disrupt your solar plexus so that you can't even really attract, you know, your desires into your force field, let alone to be creative in any productive or prosperous way. Like, yet and still, like I said, it's like somebody even in their south node was more effective and empowered than most. You know, it's like giving somebody like is still a standout energy even on their worst day. Like there's still no point of comparison or competition on their worst day. What's on the bottom? Damn it. Chariot, exactly. No resistance, no worthy opponent in sight. On your worst day, in your lowest frequency, in your most depleted self-esteem, you still shitting on people. Like, which is also a problem for those that are measuring their security on your demise or their self-esteem by your depression. And again, doubling down on the will, the strength, the power, the resilience, the determination, the fight in someone to never be defeated, to like be aggressively assertive in their personal power, not to run over anyone, but this is going back to everything that I was saying before about, you know, having total control, almost dominance over what you decide takes precedence in your life. And there's that word again, precedence. For someone to decide that love overrules all. Love is above all, no matter what the experience may be, no matter what the projection may be, no matter what people inflict or intend to inflict love rules. That's the, sorry, my eye is itching like crazy. That's the energy that that like keeps this drive going no matter what. And that's something that can't be duplicated. It can't be defeated. It can't be extinguished, and it doesn't expire. As long as somebody continuously, like, is relentless to recommit. That's, here it is again. There's not a lack of commitment here with the Queen of Wands. It's just that the standards of which she chooses to commit herself and even engage herself are so high that most things burn off in the lower frequencies before they can even reach her aptitude of passion. And that's for her own good. Masculine or feminine, by the way, but of course it's coming up the way it's coming up. It's for her own good. And anyone that looks upon that with any disdain, or that feels threatened by it, or jealous of it, intimidated, anything of the sort, it's just an ego check for them. That you need to figure out where, you know, you can get a little of that, which is why I said get you a friend where you can source that energy in a positive sense, you know. Because if you feel anything but inspired by it, then that's a you problem, not a them, not a her problem. Not a them, anybody that can relate to this frequency. That's not your problem, that's a them problem. And those that are intimidated or offended by it, that's a you problem. Two more. Oh, is this giving me two? It sure is. That's been happening a lot lately. Yeah, like exactly what I said, that this is what it comes down to. Somebody that really doesn't have a great deal of surplus to show for all of this fronting that they're doing. They don't have a lot in the bank, whether it's energy, time, gifts, talents. They don't really value themselves as much as they put on, you know. And it's because, like I said before, the measurement of their self-esteem is dependent upon someone else's lack thereof. You're gonna always be broke in that energy, because nobody's gonna stay down forever, Lord willing, you know. So if that literally is where the money resides for you, and in this case, the clout, the affluence, the confidence, your satisfaction is on account of what someone else doesn't have, doesn't achieve, doesn't realize, doesn't become, doesn't obtain, however they don't succeed or evolve. Like, first of all, that's sick, and I'm gonna need you to get yourself some help. But second of all, that's literally like, that's broke mentality. It's broken, and it's a sure way to stay broke. Meaning you could even have hella money in the bank and still not be satisfied, which is why I was saying it's something about this where somebody is supposed to be satisfied, or at least putting on the front that they are, but yet they still looking for something. What are you looking for? It's like they're looking to be satisfied, by this, like by this spiritual gift of abundance as it is, but they don't even amount to the value of this favor. Nobody in the frequency that I'm speaking of would ever be privileged to such a blessing from the divine. It'll only be little morsels, little, nickel and diamond profit here and there, or, having abundance, but it falls through your hand like sand at the same time, because, there's no way to really sustain the prosperity in a way that works for you. That's almost passive. And it's not passive because it's a mirror of someone who is aggressive. Like this is like having passive income, or having an opportunity that almost like falls in your lap, or is serendipitous of an offering or proposal or proposition where you were just minding your business, being you, and this is what met you along the way somehow. Chance encounter, or just meeting the right person at the right time, or stumbling upon an opportunity just in, casual conversation with someone that happens to be looking for someone that does what you do. Like that's the type of favor that comes from the Ace of Pentacles, or just downright being gifted something that you just had no expectation for, whether it be a return on an investment that comes back in dividends more than what you invested, or a return on like a business that was a slow burn, and now all of a sudden your demand is through the roof. Like stuff like that happens for people that are taking an honorable responsibility and accountability for their personal power and creativity. Someone that could be traumatized 1,000 times over, but will never seek to inflict or project that trauma onto someone else, if at all possible. Like literally not having the intention to do that, at the forefront of their mind. And even beyond that, being so intentional to heal themselves and evolve from their pain so that they don't unintentionally cause harm or trauma to someone else. Again, on your worst day, still exercising strength. That's what this is giving here. But not this energy that has the nerve to feel some entitlement to something better than them. Great. This is what this has all been about. Like somebody that feels an entitlement to something more than what they're willing to be, do, or offer. You're going to be waiting for the rest of your life in that mentality. So you might as well, pull up a beach chair on the side of that shore and keep on watching. High Priestess. And look at this. Accelerated advancement into some new experience, like a new exciting experience at that. And it just it's literally like, it keeps getting, like there really is no better feminine energy to have out here, because the Empress already is like the best of the minors to me, in terms of the feminine energies, with the Nine of Pentacles. We got the best of the queens, in my opinion. The Strength card, which is just like chef's kiss, even in the way that it came up in reverse with the explanation, still feminine energy and infinite power, unstoppable force. The Empress, who's all the queens wrapped up in one, and the most powerful force of all the court cards in the feminine energy. And then we got the damn High Priestess. There's really no other Like, when I say, and not only the high priestess, but the high priestess with the 8 of Wands, which means that the high priestess ain't even done evolving at this point. There's still yet greater for her to become with this 8 of Wands. It's like, oh, you thought this was something? Me getting over a little heartbreak, me still having a little confidence after, being disregarded or being rejected, me finding my way back to independence after being disempowered, locked away, me evolving and maturing to be even better than I ever was before, me still maintaining some power and self-control on my worst day, and being prosperous on account of it all, like supernaturally prosperous. You thought that was everything. Now this is a sanctified feminine energy that, if anything else is selective or like off limits, demure, as they say, this absolutely is. Like, everybody is certainly not getting their hands on the best of what the high priestess has to offer without being in a supreme godlike frequency. I'm talking godlike. God essence is the only thing that would have access or even consideration to propose a connection with the high priestess. So somebody that thought that they had somebody pegged, like literally this is the best that they, expected of someone to be, is forever heartbroken, forever downtrodden, forever insecure. And this is somebody that like superseded the greatest of expectations that they probably could have even had for themselves, let alone what was anticipated from the outside in, particularly from someone that had a great deal to benefit from the least productive and prosperous frequency. How dumb do they feel right now? Like, wow. No wonder. Now I understand. Now I understand the obsession. I get it. Because this is what somebody is witnessing with their own 2 eyes as to what they missed, what they literally just like, not just missed out on, what they completely discarded like trash. And this ended up being a whole treasure. A whole treasure that somebody like wiped their ass with and tossed aside. No wonder. It makes much more sense now that somebody's ego is so irritated, because it's like somebody can't accept. So many things are hard to accept. The fact that their absence didn't do what they intended. The fact that somebody actually was more than what they thought that, what they thought that they were. And now in a reflective state, them seeing themselves measuring up to much less than what could even be reasonably considerable here, and it's like, and under normal circumstances, they would care less. They don't care to be a viable partner or, a considerable proposition for partnership with someone like this. The only thing they care about is what benefit that they have more or less forfeited for themselves, and also how it makes them feel. There it is. This is the feeling. Somebody didn't really have too much feeling before, but this thing, facing this, all of a sudden evokes some feelings in somebody that they don't like. It's this feeling of, it's a feeling of insecurity that, you know, clearly this is an energy that was already insecure anyway to even act out in this way, but somehow they were able to defer that emotional state and maybe even funnel it or filter it into other means of satisfaction, whether it was material or the obsession of power over others or the influence, you know, whatever it was. We did see the devil card, so whatever it was distorted, right? But it's like now someone can't escape their actual feelings, how their feelings are materializing in a way that are not able to be contained, controlled, filtered, funneled, dismissed, drained. Like, it's completely saturating them, maybe even consuming them. And it's coming up as a feeling, but really it's just this sensation of loss that someone, like this, like how they intended to make someone else feel is now transferring to their own personal being. But it's not in a way of like, oh, heartbreak, I can't have this person. It's I can't put my finger on how to express it, but it's a sensation that is like excruciatingly uncomfortable for someone because they're not used to being so emotionally attached. And the way that they are, it's not something that they can easily like disconnect from. It's not the typical feelings like somebody in heartbreak, like what was intended, but it's something that transfers for this person that makes them extremely sensitive in the same way, but in a different way. And the issue is that this person doesn't have the character or the quality or capability to transmute those feelings the way that someone else has ultimately learned to do, or that just innately knows how to do. And it's also the fact that they don't deserve to. They deserve to absorb and experience everything that they expelled because it was original to them anyway. It's what they projected, it's what they sowed, so it's what they justifiably should reap. They're just not used to having to actually sit with it because it's always projected outside of them or deferred to some other source or some other filter, some filtration system that they have emotionally where it doesn't stay with them long. But now it's like all these cups, like didn't I say like they're looking for an escape? So lustful for some way to master this energy the way they controllably master other things outside of themselves. But this is the one thing that they'll have to go through before they could overcome. It's like someone is being possessed now by the same deflected emotions and projections that they were dishing out. All of it's coming right back home, and there's nothing that they can do about it but sit in it, arms crossed and all, and look like they like it. Look, and that's the gotcha, because it's somebody that still is fixated with appearances and how they look. And until that pride and ego it dissipates, it's going to make for even more of a miserable time in that frequency. Well, I'm going to leave that one there. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Oh, by the way, I may or may not be on tomorrow, Saturday. I know that I said I was kind of in limbo about whether I would take the rest of the Saturdays off till the fall equinox. I'm not 100% sure. It'll depend on how I feel tomorrow. But just a heads up that if you don't see me on Saturday or Sunday, it's because I'm extending my summer vacay hours through the rest of the summer. And I'm also gearing up to leave Saturdays open for some different content. So I'm kind of like pulling back to gear up to push forward in that regard, to do something different with that day, to kind of, add some variety. So I'm still thoughtful about how that gets to be, but in any event, you can still hit me up if you're interested in the Summer Soul Sale. Details in the description box below. And if I don't see you tomorrow or talk to you tomorrow, I will almost surely talk with you on Monday. So again, thank you for being here. All things considered, have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.